Now at 10, a major heist. What was stolen from the Oregon Music Hall of Fame? Its founder calls invaluable.
The Ukrainian president speaking directly to U.S. senators and President Biden on Saturday, asking for more assistance as his country continues to fight off a Russian invasion. I'm Lauren Blanchard near the Ukrainian border. I'll have the latest from the region coming up.
But first, tragedy in the sky. A local pilot is dead after crashing during a practice run for aerobatics. Tonight, we hear from her fiancé, who was flying beside her when it happened.
First, live, local, the 10 o'clock news starts now on Fox 12 Oregon.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us on the 10 o'clock news. I'm Bridget Chavez. First tonight, the Corvallis community is grieving the loss of a well-known pilot who died in a Florida plane crash this week. Fox 12's Connor McCarthy spoke with the victim's fiancé, who says Marianne Fox was more than just an accomplished pilot.
Marianne Fox practiced her aerobatic skills here at the Corvallis Airport. Her fiancé, Jim Bork, says that her death is not only impacting the Corvallis community, but the entire aerobatic community across the country. For nearly 2 decades, Jim Bork and Marianne Fox were each other's co-pilots in life.
She was just a very, very elegant woman, very intelligent and very caring. She had a great eye for things visually.
Jim says Marianne wasn't initially interested in aerobatics when they met, but a few years ago, she hopped into a cockpit and her career as a pilot soared.
I mean, she really just took to it really, really well. And she had a lot of characteristics in her personality that made her very well suited for it.
Jim says this year she was training to be on the U.S. team for aerobatics to compete internationally.
She rose very, very quickly and became a very competent pilot and was very proud of her accomplishments, as she should be.
This past Wednesday, the two were flying in Florida. Jim was in a separate aircraft flying next to Marianne's right wing when smoke started to come out of the engine.
I talked to her on the radio, and she said that she had engine trouble and was needing to make a landing right away.
Jim says he stayed with Marianne as they descended into the St. Augustine airport. He says he was with her up until touchdown.
At that moment, I was very confident she had made a successful landing. I don't know what happened after that.
Investigators in Florida told Jim Marianne survived the crash, but the plane flipped over on its top with the cockpit stuck in the water. Time passed as rescuers tried to reach Marianne. Jim says it was too late, and Marianne passed away.
She made it. She flipped upside down and sat in the water upside down on radio with the rescuers, but they couldn't get to her in time.
Jim says since Marianne's death, he's been receiving hundreds of calls and messages from people around the country about the impact Marianne made on their lives. In Corvallis, she was a business owner and volunteered at local aerobatic competitions. Jim says knowing how his fiancée positively impacted the lives around her has helped him with the grieving process. But the biggest impact Marianne made was on Jim and her family.
And I will be reliving it for a long time, so it's not easy at all. But I know Marianne, and she would be the one to tell me that I have to accept this because it's the reality, and I just know how she would want me to do that. So I think about her, and that's what I have to do. I know I have to do that, but I'm not there yet. That's not going to happen anytime soon, yeah.
There are still many unanswered questions about exactly what happened when Marianne touched the ground, but the NTSB made their way down to St. Augustine, Florida to pick up the investigation to find those answers. In Corvallis, Connor McCarthy, Fox 12 Oregon.
Police are investigating another shooting in the city of Portland. Officers headed to a shots fired call off Southeast Foster near 80th just after 2:45 this morning. Once there, they found a number of shell casings in the street near Shimmer's Gentlemen's Club and an SUV that crashed into a telephone pole nearby. No word yet on any injuries or arrests. We've reached out to police and will update you on air and online when we get more information on what happened. Members of Northeast Portland's Park Rose community are calling for an end to gun violence. The group held a rally on Northeast Sandy this afternoon with free food and resources for neighbors. We talked to Lionel Irving, one of the organizers and the founder of Love is Stronger. He and others there emphasized the need for community unity.
We want to live. We want to put the guns down and get the funds up. We want to live good. We want to enjoy life. We want to celebrate these young men. We don't want to mourn them. So that's what this is about. This is just straight up awareness about our responsibility to be in the forefront of preventing gun violence.
I'd just like to see more events like this. You know, it's not every day that like young black kids can come together and work. You know, it's a narrative that things like this don't happen. So hopefully more love and togetherness could come from events like this. Put the guns down, no more violence.
Several groups participated in today's event, including Historic Park Rose, Love is Stronger, and the Portland Police Bureau. Fox 12's Most Wanted stole tens of thousands of dollars worth of autographed guitars from the Oregon Music Hall of Fame. Tonight, the organization's co-founder is asking the public to keep an eye out for those stolen guitars before their induction ceremony later this year. Fox 12's Drew Marine spoke with him and tells us more.
Terry Courier wears many hats. He's the owner of Music Millennium and the president of the Oregon Music Hall of Fame, to name a few. Since they started inducting musicians and industry professionals in the late 2000s, he's been collecting signed guitars.
At that time, we were auctioning off about 15 guitars per year, so I needed to get at least 15 guitars. But I always wanted to have a reserve, guitars that I would go get signed by artists when they came through town.
Each year, they auction off these guitars to give 4 college-bound students a scholarship for music education and bring music to schools that don't offer those programs. Their biggest fundraiser is their induction ceremony, slated for October this year.
The scholarship program has probably been our most rewarding program. Being a board member, going through the applications each year.
But over a week ago, all 70 guitars he had collected were taken from their storage unit in Northeast Portland.
I had a gut ache. It'll probably cost $30,000 to $40,000 to replace those guitars.
This loss is more than just the dollar amount, though.
Those are irreplaceable. You know, I can get another Portugal the Man guitar. I can get other artists to sign guitars. But a lot of the inductees are no longer with us anymore, so there's no way to retrieve those signatures.
If you know where these guitars may be, or if you spot any, Courier says you're in for a hefty reward.
We're going to give somebody one of the guitars that we retrieve, and we'll give them tickets to our induction ceremony in October.
Drew Marine, Fox 12 Oregon.
Turning now to the war between Russia and Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin is warning Western leaders that imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine would constitute a direct involvement in Russia's ongoing invasion and escalate the conflict. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian president is asking Congress for more aid. For Fox 12, Lauren Blanchard has the latest.
We are now 10 days into Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and still there are no signs of an end to the fighting. Even as Russian tanks continue their advance on the Ukrainian capital, the people are standing strong.
Millions of people, which became one whole, superpower of the spirit.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke with President Biden Saturday evening and to U.S. senators, asking lawmakers for more weapons, planes, and stronger sanctions on Russia, particularly on its oil and gas industries. Both countries agreed to a temporary ceasefire along evacuation routes to help civilians get out, but the peace was short-lived. Russian forces have been accused of targeting residential areas.
Ukraine is bleeding, but Ukraine has not fallen and stands both feet on the ground.
Ukraine's negotiators say they will meet with Russia for another round of peace talks on Monday. This video showing a Russian helicopter shot down, another appearing to show a Russian fighter jet shot out of the sky in the northern part of the country. President Zelensky wants NATO to enforce a no-fly zone over Ukraine, an ask so far leaders have been unable to grant as they try to avoid a larger confrontation with Russia.
To shut down the skies escalates it to a point here where we risk going to the next level of a war that we do not want to go to as it relates to a world war.
In his phone call with Zelensky, President Biden reassured the Ukrainian president that he is working with Congress to get as much humanitarian aid as possible. In Przemysl, Poland, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
A Portland man is teaming up with a local company to help the people of Ukraine, and you can pitch in by buying a t-shirt. Portland Inc. is selling these shirts, and the proceeds are going to Ukraine Project Hope. The project was Puya Ahmadi's idea. He fled his home country to come to the U.S., and news of the war in Ukraine felt very personal to him.
The struggles of Ukrainian people isn't going to end today. And, the same applies to anyone who's been victims of, violence of that sort. Refugees and asylum seekers are going to be created from this. And, and not everyone can return home. There's going to be people who need a lot of help. Kids are going to have to go to new schools. Parents have to get new jobs, find a new place to live. And then even if they want to return, they have to rebuild their country.
There are 3 different designs which you can get on a t-shirt, tank top, hoodie, or long sleeve shirt. $10 from each purchase goes to Project Hope. And if you'd like to buy a shirt, we have a link to the store at kptv.com. Just click on this story. Stay with Fox 12 for continuing coverage on the war in Ukraine and the impact here in the U.S. You can get updates between newscasts at kptv.com or the Fox 12 News app. Let's turn now to tonight's weather news. Here's a live look from our Mary Hill Tasting Room and Bistro Cam in Vancouver, and Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson is here with us.
Yeah, welcome to our little Saturday evening show.
I'm enjoying it, and I enjoyed the weather today.
And I don't normally come Saturday evening either, show up here, but we do what we can. Yeah, beautiful, wasn't it? You said you went outside with your little doggy?
I did.
Yeah.
And you were outside too.
Yeah, actually, I was just about at this spot. Mary Hill Tasting Room and Bistro Camera right at sunset. I wasn't there at sunset. I was in here working, of course. But, yeah, pretty clear skies in the afternoon. Kind of had that late winter, early spring type chill, where it's not really warm, but it was nice if you were in the sun and you were out of the breeze. So it's cooling off. We've got mainly clear skies now, mid-40s. And Newport, you're down to the mid-40s as well. I see one person walking out there, but very calm conditions. And today was actually a notch or 2 warmer in a few spots, 57 in Portland. So pretty close to normal. Now, we think, here's a model forecast of cloud cover. The clouds mainly stick around the mountains, which they are doing right now, but we get all the way to tomorrow morning. This is 9 or 10 a.m. tomorrow. Looks the same, doesn't it? Yep, looks kind of uneventful, which is very good for your Sunday. So mainly clear skies tonight. Again, areas of fog and frost. We had a few upper 20s last night, probably about 33 coming up here in the city. And our 7-day forecast, let me tell you this, looks like a lot of dry days. I've only got like 1 or 1.5 days of rain, so I'll show you when those are coming up.
Great, thanks, Mark. A WNBA star and Olympic gold medalist has been arrested while playing overseas. The trouble with the loss she's run into and how the U.S. is responding. And new details are emerging in the school shooting in Kansas that left 3 hurt. Students who were there help walk us through what happened. A 2-time Olympic gold medalist and WNBA All-Star has reportedly been arrested in Russia on drug charges. According to Russian news agencies, Brittany Griner was taken into custody at the Moscow airport in February. Customs agents allegedly found vapes with liquid cannabis or hash oil in Griner's carry-on, which is illegal in Russia. Griner, who plays with the Phoenix Mercury in the U.S., spends her off-season playing overseas. The U.S. State Department says it stands ready to provide all appropriate consular services. WNBA officials issued a statement of support for the 31-year-old, asking for her swift and safe return to the U.S. There's been no comment yet from Griner or her representative. Police say a student was shot and arrested after opening fire on a school resource officer and an administrator in Kansas yesterday. It appears 3 people, including the suspect, were hurt. For Fox 12, Haley Harrison reports.
It starts with a tip. A student has a gun in his backpack at Olathe East High School. At 10:30, an assistant principal pulls the senior from class. In a front office, the student refuses a search of his bag. The school resource officer is called in, and then the SRO shot and wounded the teenage gunman. The school went on lockdown.
I mean, I immediately got underneath the table for protection because I'm not gonna get shot.
I'm scared. There's not much I can say.
All of us knew something was happening.
I immediately panicked.
News trickled to loved ones anxiously waiting outside.
I hate that this has actually landed in our front yard.
The scene was chaotic.
Parents don't know where their children is.
This year was supposed to be the return to normalcy.
It's clear no corner of this community is untouched by the violence.
I myself am a parent of a student in the Olathe School District, so I understand what everybody's feeling right now, of that uncertainty.
Parents clutching their cell phones until they could hold their children instead.
You doing? You good? You good? I'm good.
Hugging a little closer and tighter tonight.
I'm going to meet him at home and get a big, big hug. Being a senior, he's not always willing to give me those freely, but I think today he will.
Some Sierra snow is blanketing Northern California and causing rough conditions for drivers on the road. For Fox 12, Melanie Wingo has the story.
Good job.
There's something about a Sierra snowstorm that can really bring people out.
He's like, I want to go and play in the snow.
A spur-of-the-moment plan for the Singh family brought them from Elk Grove to Cisco Grove and into the snow.
We saw the weather and we kind of know, this might be the last chance to take the kids over there.
Okay, you got a good one now.
That's my sister.
How do you like the snow?
You good.
What do you like most about it?
I make snowmans.
From building snowmans to blazing a trail.
I was like, I'm gonna go out wheeling today.
Off-road adventures are awesome.
I'm currently just having fun, having a blast.
Until they're not. Ouch. Just after sundown, conditions on Interstate 80 worsened.
Normal night coming up, and we got the couple exits up there and it just went crazy. It's just, trucks were backing up, no place to really pull off the chain up.
So Kevin Stokes pulled off at Donner Pass rest area to chain up his big rig.
2 more layover and I'll just back it up. This little 5 miles right here can be so dangerous.
With 34 years of truck driving under his belt, he ought to know.
You're in charge of your own ship. If you don't feel safe, don't push it.
Chaining up with a smile on his face, even knowing the hard part is when he gets to the other side of the mountain.
Put him off is worse because then you got the wet running down your neck.
Remembering the words his lifelong truck driver dad always used to tell him.
You can go down a hill 1,000 times too slow, but only once too fast, and always go with your gut.
And Chief Meteorologist Mark Nelson is back. I do not miss that snow, I will say.
That's right. You spent some time in Reno, right?
I did, yep. I was a frequent of Donner Pass.
Oh, boy. Yeah, maybe we could hire him to come back and give advice during our winter storms.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. That would always be helpful. Okay, so have you been here to the Willamette Valley Vineyards? It's just South Salem Hill. You have been there?
I have been.
And I haven't been there still. How
yeah, come on, Mark. I'm newer than you.
And they have those little wine pods. You see people gathered in there in the evening as the sun was setting, so really pretty out there this evening. And skies just kind of partly cloudy to mainly clear once the sun set again. Seaside, I see quite a few beach fires out there. 44 degrees, Shiloh and Seaside Cam there. And we're generally in the 40s west side. 30s east side. Everybody's going to drop about 10 degrees. Let's say about 10 degrees from these numbers. So tonight, low to mid 30s west of the Cascades and generally 20s east of the mountains. There may be some flurries in the northeast mountains. We've got this cool flow of air coming in and out of Canada. And as it moves south, it runs into these mountains like here in northeast Oregon and southeast Washington. A little bit of lifting, you get some flurries over there. Okay, so what is ahead here? Well, tomorrow and Monday, kind of like today, dry, mild, not much of anything happens. Now, there will be some areas of fog or clouds in the morning, kind of like there were today. Out on the east side of town, it hung around till, I don't know, it seems like around noon. And then chilly nights continue, spots of frost, but no hard freezing. Nobody gets below the upper 20s. A hard freeze would be like way down in the 20s. And then the big picture is there's not much rain ahead. In our 7-day forecast, I've got some rain on Tuesday, as you'll see. And then again, next weekend, I think, is going to be wet. But until that time, not a whole lot going on. A cold weather system over the Sierra down there between Nevada and California. That's continuing to head east, actually southeast towards into Vegas, actually, and then all the way down into Arizona, like Flagstaff and down to Phoenix. And we're on the back side of that, so we have this cool, pretty dry air coming down out of Canada. The same setup we've seen off and on really since early January. Pretty strong high pressure here, so no storms are coming at us. We think that changes next weekend. We may see a series of weather systems come in with a bunch of rain, maybe a gusty south wind. We haven't seen much of that. We had the rain, but I mean the gusty south wind and kind of a stormy pattern. That may set up next weekend. We will see. But for now, yeah, there's not a whole lot going on. So cloud cover-wise, I think tomorrow we wake up to partly cloudy skies. Pretty sunny across the whole region tomorrow, except those northeast mountains still will allow us picking up snow flurries. We get a lot of clouds coming through on Monday. Nothing dramatic there. But then on Tuesday, a system does drop in from the north. And Tuesday, we might start dry. But then the rest of the day, pretty gray and cool. Temperatures will have a tough time both Tuesday, Wednesday, and well, I guess also Thursday, maybe getting above 48, 50 degrees. Total rain, though, out of this, we go all the way through Tuesday, and yeah, like 1/10 of an inch. So there's not going to be that much. But there's going to be a bunch of snow in the Cascades, which is good. So mostly sunny tomorrow, patchy areas of fog and frost in the morning, maybe some low clouds. So don't panic if you wake up and it's gray. But we should top out about the same tomorrow, 55, a little warmer Monday. A bit cooler Tuesday, and there will be a chill in the air. You know, Bridget, on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll get a gusty east wind coming out of the gorge again, and that's going to keep us in the 40s, I think, those 2 days. So that's going to be a little cooler than what we typically see as we head into mid-March.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Uproar from activists for transgender rights in Texas. Why the Children's Hospital says they were left with no choice but to pause hormone treatments for patients.